Learn this before it's too late. In this episode, I'm going to address the question how to stay ahead of inflation. Get ready. Most Americans do not understand how to do this. In fact, many financial advisors don't get it. So, my name's Doug Andrew, and I've been helping people optimize their financial assets, minimize taxes, and stay ahead of inflation now for more than 47 years. Why is it so important to outpace inflation? I'm going to show you why in this episode, and then how you can actually outpace inflation so that inflation doesn't hurt you. It actually can help you. See, I don't like inflation any more than you probably do, but it doesn't hinder me. It doesn't hurt me. It actually helps me. I come along for the ride. And for the last 4.5 decades, if inflation went to 5%, I usually earned over 10. If it went to 10, I earned 15. If it went to 15, I earned 20, and on and on and on, because I link my returns to the things that inflate. It's actually pretty simple, folks, but you wouldn't believe how many advisors do not understand what I'm about to teach you. One of my favorite vehicles that I have used for 47 years that allows me to accumulate my money tax-free and then later on be able to access my money tax-free, but I don't have to wait until I'm over age 59 and a half. I can access money actually within a year or two or even a few months after I put it in, but most people use my favorite vehicle, which I call the laser fund, for long-term goals. That would be financial goals that are 5 years or longer down the road, and of course, retirement savings fits into that category. So that's why most people would come to me close to retirement, because I have had several different educational courses about at-retirement planning, which is totally different than maybe what you did for retirement planning. And I was usually trying to correct mistakes that people made before it was too late so that they would not outlive their money. So let's talk about the negative impact of inflation, because there are three big dangers that cause most retirees to outlive their money. Taxes, because taxes keep going up, and most people are not in lower tax brackets when they retire, especially if they accumulated any type of a respectable retirement nest egg. The second big danger is inflation, which is the subject of this episode. And the third danger is market volatility. Now, my favorite vehicle, the laser fund, eliminates those three dangers. It makes yourself immune from them. But let's focus on number two. How does it combat inflation? And let's talk about the negative impact of inflation on people's money, especially during retirement. Now, as of the recording of this episode, it's been interesting in the news because CNBC, Barron's, we have Fox Business, Bloomberg, Forbes, and New York Times, and also Market Watch, that all of a sudden got alarmed because the inflation rate, the consumer price index, spiked. Now, what period of time am I referring to here? This was the March, April, May, and June period of the year 2021, when, because of Joe Biden being elected, he started doing a lot of things that all of a sudden caused inflation to spike. Gasoline increased by 50%, in some areas by double. We saw a lot of goods and services go up in price, and it was basically a result of him not understanding economics. Okay, a lot of politicians don't understand economics. And so by increasing corporate tax rates and so forth, a lot of corporations and businesses, they either are forced to lay off people because of increased taxes. A lot of corporations had to pay 33% more in tax. They went from a 21% corporate tax rate to a 28% rate under his proposal. And people say, well, that's only 7% more. No, going from paying $210,000 on every million of profit up to $280,000 is a 33% increase in the amount of tax you're paying. Corporations can afford that. Even though politicians think they can, the only way they can afford to do that is by either laying off people, which causes unemployment to stay high, or they have to raise the prices of goods and services, and so it's counterproductive. Sometimes we raise minimum wage to $15 or more an hour, but that's all gobbled up at the gas pump and at the hamburger stand because businesses had to increase the prices of goods and services. This is called inflation. When government spends more than what they bring in, and they've usually always done that, but oh my heavens, we're talking about the government spending triple and even quadruple the amount that they bring in revenue. Do you know the Internal Revenue Service at the recording of this episode collects about $3.5 to $4 trillion in taxes? And all of these proposals, healthcare initiatives, student loan forgiveness, and all of these stimulus packages and on and on and on, it's going to cost about 3 to 4 times what they bring in revenue. I mean, hello? If you made $100,000 a year and you kept spending $300,000 or $400,000 a year, how long would that last before you'd have to file bankruptcy? So what happens is they print money. See, we can't do that, but the government can. And if they print money, that causes inflation. The value of the American dollar goes down as far as purchasing power. Here's a few things I want you to understand. They were acting like, 4.2%. And a couple of months later, they go, it went up 5%. Do you know that's artificial? Here's why. Way back during Jimmy Carter's presidency, inflation got to 13%, and the government says we can't afford to pay Social Security recipients, for example, the consumer price index increase every year. We can't give them 13% raises on Social Security. We can't afford to do that. And so they decided to change the way they calculate inflation. They used to do it on this basket of goods, apples to apples comparison year to year on the same goods and services. They changed that back in the 80s and they said, you know what? We reserve the right to compare year to year apples to oranges. In other words, the government can choose to compare the price of filet mignon steak this year to hamburger, ground beef next year if it's still beef. And people go, really? Oh yeah. Do you know that this red line is the rate of inflation since 1981 that they report now with the Consumer Price Index, the CPI? This is the actual increase in average goods and services. So when they report 4, it's usually like 9, 10, or 11% true rate of inflation. I mean, hello, look at the gas pumps. Sometimes the gasoline goes up 50 to 100% in a year or two. From the year 2005, 2006 on to 2021, in the red here, this is the reported inflation rate. This is the actual increase in the cost of living in America. So it's smoke and mirrors, folks. So what should you be doing? I want you to understand the rule of 72. Now, the rule of 72 can be used in 2 different ways. If you have an investment and you take the interest rate you're earning on an investment, let's say it's 5%, you divide that into the number 72, and it tells you your money will double every 14.4 years. If you're earning 7.2%, it doubles every 10 years. If you're earning 10%, it doubles every 7.2 years. Are you getting it? You can also reverse that. If I have a piece of real estate that I bought for $500,000, and in 10 years it doubles to $1 million, what was my average appreciation rate? Well, it took 10 years. You divide 10 into 72, and that tells me my average appreciation rate on that piece of real estate was 7.2%. Are you getting it? Well, how can you use it to calculate inflation? If you're earning 7.2%, your money doubles every 10 years, okay? If I started out with $125,000 and I was earning 7.2%, it would double to $250,000 in year 10. It would double again to $500,000 in year 20 and $1 million in year 30. Now, I've had many clients who have actually done this. So let's say you're right here and you have your $1 million and you're retiring. Let's look what inflation does. If you have $1 million earning 7.2%, theoretically you could pull out $72,000 a year without depleting principal. Now, if that's a traditional IRA or 401k, you're going to have to pay tax. Usually between federal and state tax, most retirees pay about 1/3 in taxes. That would be $24,000 in tax. You're only netting $48,000 to buy gas, groceries, prescriptions, and golf green fees. Have you got it? So that's about $4,000 a month. What does inflation do to that? Well, inflation, when you adjust it, Let's say inflation's 5%. Now, it's higher than that really, but at 5%, the cost of living will double in 14.4 years. We'll just round it up to 15 years here in the yellow. That means the $4,000 a month you used to have, or maybe get by on, is now only gonna have the same purchasing power as $2,000 a month today. And so you're gonna need $8,000 a month to buy the same gallons of gas and loaves of bread that you used to buy for $4,000. The cost of living doubled in what, 15 years? Well, let's go another 15 years down the road in 30 years, because many people live, 30 years in retirement. Now you need $16,000 a month to buy the same gallons of gas and loaves of bread that you used to buy for $4,000, because it doubles again. The purchasing power is cut down to 1/4 of what it was. So what does this mean? Using rule of 72 math. Inflation at 5%, the cost of living doubles what? Every 15 years, like I just showed you. Well, what if inflation is 7.2%? That means the cost of living doubles every 10 years. Every 10 years, you'll need twice as much as 10 years earlier. Well, what about inflation at 10%? Oh, that's the true rate right now as I speak, is over 10%. The cost of living will double every 7.2 years. That means in less than 15 years, you're going to need $400,000 a year to buy what $100,000 a year buys today. Can your nest egg handle that? Can you stay ahead of inflation? At 12%, which is the real rate, the cost of living will double every 6 years. So what's the answer? Now, if this is intriguing you, be sure and subscribe. Share this video with somebody who really ought to hear this information. When you do subscribe, click the little bell so you'll be notified every time I post an educational video, which I do almost on a daily basis. It's free. But I want you to stay to the end with me because I want to gift you a copy of my most recent 300-page best-selling book that will show you how to outpace inflation. So what is the answer? What you want to do is outpace inflation by linking your returns to the things that inflate. Like I said at the beginning, I don't like inflation any more than you do, but it doesn't hurt me, it helps me. Why? Because my favorite vehicle I call the laser fund. This will show you how to diversify and create the foundation for a tax-free retirement. So I eliminate the dangers of taxes going up in the future. But as far as inflation is concerned, if inflation goes to 10, I have generally earned at least 15% or higher. If inflation goes to 15, I've usually earned 20% or higher, because the money that's in the laser fund is safe in a AAA rated insurance institution in most cases. And anytime I feel bullish about America, I link my returns to the things that inflate. So if the S&P or the Dow Jones, whatever index that I link to, goes up, this is why in the year 2021, when inflation is going crazy, many of our clients have locked in gains of 16%, 25%, 30%, 61%, because their money is linked to the things that are going up in price. Now, it's actually simpler than most people think. I know this is probably going over your head, but learn about it. If you want to claim your free copy of this 300-page book, go to laserfund.com, laserfund.com. Click on the link below. Contribute a nominal amount toward the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost. I'll fire out a hard copy to you, and there's options there to listen and learn, watch and learn. It's actually 2 books in one. The white side is all the charts and graphs, 200 pages of left brain type of analysis. If you're a right brain decision maker, you learn by stories, you flip it over, and this has actually 62 client stories of how the laser fund is used not only for retirement, but also all kinds of other financial goals to help you outpace inflation. So claim your free copy. I'll see you on the other side, and be sure and subscribe to this channel. I want to empower you.